Welcome to the Vikings Playbook. Again, I have a great show lined up for you with a great guest. As always, your Sunday starts here with Vikings Playbook. Can't wait to get started with you guys. As always, make sure that you're following us on X, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And if you have any questions throughout the podcast, please make sure that you go ahead and throw the comments on stage. I already see Vocal Vike. We got Rap in the house. I see Two-Tone, Norris, my man, Bob Swede. I see TJ PDX in here. Hey guys, thanks for showing up. I appreciate you guys being in here early. And as always, make sure that you're following Fantasy 15. That's the other podcast to do. We're getting close to fantasy football season. So we're gonna be going every Wednesday. We're gonna have a full draft kit for you for 2026, waiver wire advice, rankings, and also Fantasy 15 fan chat, an opportunity for you guys to go ahead and share your thoughts, start trade with other owners, start leagues together, and then also ask us, our experts at Fantasy 15 Fantasy Football. So make sure that you're following along. Again, fantasy15football.com. And then we can't forget, guys, if you want a chance to win a certified Jordan Addison autographed jersey, you got to be a subscriber of Vikings Playbook. Go to Vikes Playbook on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. One of our luckier subscribers, once we get to 250, we're going to go ahead and give away a Jordan Addison jersey. I have a lot more jerseys and mini helmets that are autographed that I plan to do giveaways all year long. But you can't win them unless you're subscribed to Vikings Playbook. So make sure that you're doing that, guys. Exciting stuff tonight. And I get to introduce you to my guest, and you saw it, and here's his intro video.
So, Donovan, don't cheat. You good. Get there. You weren't wrong about him. Hey, straight into you.
None other than Coach Greg Holcomb. Greg, welcome to Vikings Playbook.
Thanks, man. That's a pretty sweet intro. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You know, when I took a look at your guys' website, your social media, you guys got some good stuff going on, and I was just looking through some of the videos, and that last quarterback that I saw throwing the ball, that's your son.
That's my son. Yeah,
that's your son.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead and talk about this a little bit. And if you guys haven't followed it, or if you guys have, kids, or if you yourself, you're a quarterback looking to get some additional training, you need to make sure that you check out Next Level Athletix quarterback training, his website, www.nextlevelquarterbacks.com. Go ahead and follow Greg on QB Coach HOLC on X, and then Next Level QBA on X as well too. Check that out. But Greg, tell us a little bit about Next Level Athletix and what you guys are doing. As far as, is it just quarterbacks that you guys are doing training with, and how does somebody get started with you guys?
Yeah, I focus on quarterbacks. That's my the lane I run in, and I've been doing this for 12 years, almost 13 years now. We're very fortunate that over the years we've gotten to be really have some great guys that do wide receiver training, DB training, some linebacker stuff. So we do come together and do some comprehensive things with those guys. I focus specifically on quarterbacks. So for my training sessions, I always tell my QBs to bring a receiver. It's free for them to come. And then they can obviously get some work in with them. So, I do it for two reasons. One, you can obviously have a quarterback that can throw to a receiver. And two, there's a leadership component to playing this position. So, the QBs who are consistently bringing receivers out, I probably have an inclination that they are the guy who's telling the receiver, like, hey, man, you're coming with me and we're going to this training session, versus guys who can't get receivers to come out and catch for them. So, not that that's an indicator of their leadership skills, but I do feel like the guys who are those alpha male leader guys always show up with the receivers. So,
Now you've been doing this since, and you're the founder and the owner.
right.
You started this in 2012, is that right?
Yeah, right around there. Yeah.
And
So that's right. Yeah, January of 2012.
and that's awesome that now your son is getting to be a part of this program. You're getting to work with him even more closely and develop a stronger bond with him. But you've been able to do that with a lot of other quarterbacks that, not just through high school, but also through college and all the way to the NFL. And
hmm
no other than, as we know, JJ McCarthy, that you
Yeah,
were able to work with since seventh grade.
right.
And what was it like initially meeting that young man when he came into your program, through high school? Just what was that initial relationship working with him through high school and getting him to the college level? What was that like, Greg?
Yeah, well, he came in, his mom brought him through a recommendation from another quarterback that I was training that lives in the same general area as they do. So his mom brought him and he came out. I honestly had no idea who he was. Literally, I mean, he hadn't had any reputation. He was just a seventh grader. So it's not like I had been hearing, like, oh, there's this amazing seventh grader in LaGrange Park. Like, I didn't know any of that. So his mom brought him. And when he came out and did a training session, I was like, wow, man, for a seventh grader, you've got a really nice stroke. You've got pretty fundamentally sound mechanics for your age. There are things obviously that we can work on, but overall you're not bad. And I was like, where'd you learn all that? And he's like, pretty much my dad. And then I got to meet Jim very shortly after that. And he was like, listen, I took him as far as what I know. I played running back in college, so I need to hand him off to somebody else. And you came highly recommended, and we probably trained that was in the summertime, so we probably trained twice a week or something like that. And then he was going into finishing up that, so that was the summer, going from seventh to eighth. And then had a really good eighth grade year, and went off to Nazareth High School and just continued to improve and grow and develop. And yeah, the next thing you know, he's, gosh, I don't know, 6'1" and some change. And then when I met him, he was probably a 5'9", 140-pound kid. So it was really cool to see, one, just his physical development from a growth standpoint, and then see him develop as an actual quarterback. He could always throw, like, he always had clean mechanics. He was very smooth, but I feel like we did a good job just kind of like teaching him some of the basics, understanding ground force, rotational force, not throwing with just your arm, and then doing some pressure in the pocket drills and things to get him prepared to play high school football. And then obviously that transitioned into going off to IMG during the COVID year. So he went to IMG when COVID hit, because we weren't playing football in Illinois. So he went down to Florida to play at IMG, and then off to Michigan. And pretty much everybody knows what happened from Michigan through, getting drafted by the Vikings.
Now, with him going to Michigan, and did you coach him still when he was going to Michigan, through that time, and winning a championship at the FBS level? Were you there through all of that? And then even just obviously he's doing practices with U of M.
Yeah.
But is he still doing some stuff in the off season or during the season with you as well too?
Yeah. So what I've found too is, you just saw the video that you had shown. That's Alessio Milivojevic. He's at Michigan
Hmm.
State. So he's only home for 2 weeks, and then he's got to be back on campus. So what I'm finding with guys that play at like the Power Four high level Division 1 is you really aren't off of campus very long. They want you there. They obviously want to get back into workouts and training. So there's like 2 weeks in May where guys come home that I get to work with them. And after that, they're pretty much on campus and they're working out and training. And then spring break is another opportunity that I would get work out. So JJ's path was the same way. But once they're off at Michigan, I mean, they've obviously got quarterback coaches and offensive coordinators for those programs that certainly know what they're doing. So, they're working with them and doing all of those things. So I do get to see our guys when they come home, but it's for a very short time once they get to that level.
Now, you guys have a pretty close relationship. When we talked on the phone, you had mentioned that, JJ is like a son to you.
Yeah.
And again, you've been working with him since seventh grade. That's a long time, and a lot of hours, sweat, spent,
Yeah.
working with the kid and seeing him succeed, not only at the high school level in college and seeing him go to the NFL. But what has that, special bond between the two of you guys, being able to get to that level, and what has that been like, and what has that meant for you, to see him succeed as someone that you feel so strongly, about, like a family member?
Yeah. I mean, we just connected and I connected with his dad, Jim. He's still a good friend of mine now today. And I mean, I probably talk to him a couple times a month, and it's literally nothing about JJ. It's all just about life and our kid, like, just like different things, but it's not like how's JJ doing? Like, how's his, any of that. We don't talk about stuff like that. We just talk
Sure.
about, two guys. And so it's been neat to be involved in JJ's life, not only as his trainer, but, I had him and his now wife, then girlfriend, babysitting my kids. And so, we got pretty connected, especially my son and I to I mean, my son looks up to JJ almost like, a very, like a big brother kind of thing. And so it's been really neat. Like it's been very special. And I say this about a lot of the kids that I train. Like I'm not just their trainer. JJ is a special kid and that's a special
Hmm.
situation going to the NFL. But I feel like all the kids I train, I feel like I'm like that with. It's like I want to be more than just the guy that teaches them how to throw a football. There was a kid once several years ago and he showed up to a training session and I could just tell that something wasn't right with him. And I said, "Hey man, do you mind if we don't throw today?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, why?" I go, "I just feel like something's on your mind. Like let's just go sit in the bleachers and just talk." And we ended up throwing later on, but we probably sat there for half the time just talking about like he was just like kind of going through some things. I honestly don't remember specifically what we talked about. I just know there was something personal going on. And I could tell like throwing the football and training right now wasn't like top of mind for him. So I wanted to just sit and just like find out what's going on. And so I feel like I try to have that connection with a lot of the kids that we train. You connect with certain ones maybe a little bit more than others. And he certainly was one of those. So it's been really neat to connect with him at a younger age. And then, all the way through his, journey into the league. So it's been really cool.
And JJ has had a lot of, some of those, things that you can't really teach. Like, you can try to instill,
Hmm.
some of the mental aspect of being a mature individual and, um, being a leader. And I feel like he was definitely able to do that at the high school and the college level. It's a little bit different at the NFL level when you're coming
Right.
in as a young rookie
Yep.
and you're dealing with pros that have been there for years. You're there as a rookie, but JJ has a lot of individuals in the locker room that really like him.
Yeah. He's a
And
very likable guy. There's no doubt.
I think that has to do with the fact that, he comes in there with the mindset that he's going to work hard.
Right.
He's going to set the tone for others that, hey, I'm going to put in the time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, when I'm on the field, and we're going to talk about that, when he's on the field, he's a leader. You see him talking on the sideline to his guys. He's not just sitting by himself. He's being active. Is that something that, you think that has been like a core pillar
Yeah.
from your next level academy, or is that something that just he had that already? He's got a background where he's been in multiple sports. It hasn't just been football. He's got that hockey background as well too. But did some of that come from, hey, this is what we instill at the next level, quarterback academy, or is this something that he just had?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. There's definitely his DNA is certainly like that. I mean, he's ever since I've known him, he's been very focused and dialed in. He's just got a presence about him. But I feel like we also try to teach those things too. I mean, I just had a camp today and I told the kids, like, yeah, hopefully you got better today. Hopefully everybody learned at least one thing that got better. And then hopefully while you were at this camp for 3 hours, you interacted with another athlete or a coach or somebody here that made you a better person. Like it made you maybe be a little bit more patient, or maybe there's a kid that threw a few bad balls and he probably didn't feel good about himself and you were kind enough to pick him up. Like those are the kind of things I think that, separates us maybe from other places, but also like that's life, right? Like football is going
Mm-hmm.
to end and who are you after that's all over? So I feel like we do preach those things. We certainly want to make the kids who train with us become, well-rounded, good young men and then men as they grow older. I also think that JJ has a natural, just, it's just part of his fabric. So the two of those with what we're teaching and then him having that kind of as core, certainly makes him who he is.
Now, I know a lot of our Vikings fans are going to have some questions, and I think there has been, we've dealt with it with other quarterbacks as well too. I think when Kirk Cousins was the quarterback here, he had his fans, he had the people that were anti-Kirk. JJ McCarthy faced a lot of hurdles, not just in getting injured and missing all of his rookie season, but then 2025, he had injuries that prevented him from being on the field, and that does stunt a little bit of development and growth with the NFL, developing timing with your wide receivers, even just the experience with working with your coach and getting the playbook down and reading defenses, in live game action. He had the high ankle sprain that he had last season, the concussion, and then the fracture in his throwing hand. So 3 different injuries. He played in 10 games, but those injuries were a big thing. Hopefully now, he can put that behind him and focus this season on having a healthy season, having an entire off season to not just focus on some of the things that I need to do as a quarterback and get better. And this offseason, he did some additional work with quarterback coach John Beck as well too, working on some different mechanics. But, I think JJ has got, the 50-50 people were just like, hey, JJ's, he's got to be healthy. He's got to be on the field, and we got to be fair with it. There are things that JJ has to do to get better as a quarterback. And he's still only 10 games into it.
Right.
We know that he needs to be more accurate. We know that he, has to have, control of the huddle as far as, as a young quarterback, making sure that, hey, this is what I need to do in this moment. As far as if I have open field in front of me, after I snap the ball, I need to take what the defense has given me.
Right.
Or, hey, do I use my legs, buy some time for my receivers to get open? And you saw him through the season get better at some of those things.
Right.
And I think, with any quarterback, they're going to get better over time. And that's the one thing that JJ hasn't had is the time on the field. I think, like I said, there's the people that are just like, hey, I've seen enough. And we have another group of Vikings fans that are just like, I want to see more, especially with what we started to see towards the end of the season before the injury to the hand. And
Yeah.
I think we saw some of that.
Yeah.
So let's just talk a little bit about what we saw last season and kind of some of your analysis. I know that you were working with him a little bit, probably, I'm sure, having conversations with JJ, but can you take us inside, on that very first game? And if we can look at the stats a little bit too, if we take a look at that win versus Chicago,
Yeah.
that first half of the game or even three quarters, it was ugly. But
Hmm.
what we saw is he didn't give up. He stuck in there, and we saw an amazing fourth quarter
Yeah.
out of a young man that the moment wasn't too big,
Right.
and he was able to deliver a big win in week one at Chicago.
Yep.
And that's a tough place to play. It
Yeah.
really is. And he stuck in there. He had the injuries throughout the season, but as you look at this and just the stats that we saw through, the thing that sticks out to me is, one, yeah, JJ needs to be more accurate, but
Hmm.
two, when we look at the schedule, especially when I get into Washington and Dallas, when he came back after that injury and got healthy, we see that he's being more accurate with his completion percentage.
Hmm.
He's not turning the ball over. Those were good, solid games. Now, early in the Dallas game, we had the early pick six, kind of a almost a freak pick six that happened.
Hmm.
He shrugged it off and had a spectacular game and hung in there with a track meet style offense in Dallas and got the win in
Yeah.
prime time. And that's huge at Dallas again. But taking a look at 2025, the conversations that maybe you had with JJ, what are your thoughts when you take a look at his 2025 and the 10 games that he did play?
Yeah, I was at that Bear game, so I was able to sit and watch him play in that. And I think that's representative from, a lot of the games that you saw that he was playing in when he was
Mm-hmm.
healthy. As a rookie, you're going to have some ups and downs. It's like, I don't know, there's a handful of guys that have come out and been really successful, and maybe it's the offense, maybe it's the players around them, whatever it is, right? And then you have guys that there's some growing pains and there's some things that are going to happen along the way. And so, I mean, you nailed it. He's played in basically about 10 games, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think you can judge somebody by playing in only 10 games. And so, the other part of that too is what you mentioned. He's got to be healthy. Your greatest ability is your availability. So if you're not on the field, how can you if you're obviously playing injured, you're not as effective. You're not the best version of yourself. So me personally, when I look at 2025, it was really his rookie year because he didn't play the season, the prior season because of the injury. And I just don't hit the panic button. I just feel like there is a lot of football for this guy to play. The unfortunate thing is we are in an era where patience is, very thin.
Right.
We're so used to getting what we want right away. And I think with the Minnesota situation is you saw how successful they were the previous season and with Sam Darnold
With the, with
and
the, with the quarterback that's been in the league for more than 5 years.
a long time and has some horrible seasons behind him. Horrible. I mean, possibly could have been out of the league at the point he was playing with Minnesota. He had some really bad seasons in New York, Carolina, San Francisco, he barely played, but so he was able through those years to obviously put together and figure it out, and then you
Right.
get into a system. Obviously, he thrived, in KOC's system. So my point is this: Minnesota and Viking fans had so much success with that team. And I think they saw, you know, um, Sam Darnold as, he's good, but now we have this 10th pick in the draft, national champion, absolute stud. Everyone loves him. He's the next whatever. And so they anointed him almost as like, this person that would take them where Sam Darnold didn't, through the playoffs and ultimately a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to give him some time. You know what I mean? Like, um, listen, this is the NFL. I get it. You don't get a lot of time, but I don't think 10 games, a handful of injuries, not able to play a complete season. So when I look at that season, I go, man, he had some really bright moments and he had some really low ones. And so as a quarterback, you've simply got to take those low moments and start to eliminate those and create more high level bright ones. And the guys that can do that are the guys that are going to be in this league for a long time. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more football for JJ to play. Um, and yeah, so I look at 2025 as probably a learning year, and you kind of got to do some things differently in preparation or whatever it is. And then I think it's a really good thing that he's going to have competition at the quarterback position. He's obviously
Yeah.
going to be pushed by a veteran that's played a long time in Kyler Murray, and he didn't have that last year, really. So, that brings out the best in probably both of those guys. So I think it'll be good for both of them.
Now, when we look at his 2025 games, in like I said, I agree with you. 10 games is way too early to make an assessment on a
Yeah,
quarterback of whether or not they can play at that level, whether they can be a starting quarterback at that level. That's not enough sample size, and I'm not making excuses for JJ McCarthy in the fact that we got to at least acknowledge that we did not have a healthy offensive line either. That
right.
really complicated the situation, even
Mm-hmm.
for Carson Wentz, who has started plenty of games in the NFL. And we saw Carson have some success, but obviously his season was also cut short with injury because, again, he's getting hit and was getting he was even trying to play hurt.
Yeah,
But again, our offensive line not having, especially at times, not even having both of our left and our right tackles,
yeah,
it just really hurt. We had different combinations. We had issues to where, even to start the year, where the chemistry in the offensive line with new guys and never got created. I think we have a better opportunity to do that this year, whether it's Kyler Murray or whether it's JJ McCarthy that starts the year for us. I think we have the opportunity to do that. Now, the other thing I want to talk about with 2025, and just to kind of get your opinion with this. So halfway through the season, we get into the Washington game. We start talking about whether or not we need to, the mechanics starts to be a thing. And
yeah.
I know that you've worked with them, on mechanics and stuff like that too. Mechanics, at the beginning of the year, even KOC's working on, hey, changing some throwing mechanics
Mm-hmm.
with JJ McCarthy. And
Mm-hmm.
I think even just to start the year, chemistry, experience, and I know that he got injured in the preseason the year before, but I think he should have played more in more of those preseason games to get more reps before the season started. And when you go into the season, and I think what we saw early on in that Bears game that you were at is JJ probably, and again, that's a big game. Monday Night Football, first game of the year, first game that you're getting to start. Um, there's a lot of pressure there, but you're also thinking of still mechanics that are fresh
Mm-hmm.
instead of maybe reading the defense,
Mm-hmm.
getting my spots and making good, strong, accurate throws. And I think what looked to me is the more that we pressed on the mechanics and we saw some unnatural type throwing motion that was actually more difficult, I think, for JJ McCarthy, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
from what I saw from him. Now, with the mechanics piece of it, halfway in the season, I think KOC's like, hey, finally, I think he's saying, you know what, we got to try something different, and I think, we said, hey, some of that mechanics, I think he was kind of saying, you play the way that, that you want to play. And I think some of the mechanics things kind of went out the window. I think the playbook shifted a little bit. And whether we talk about simplifying or whatnot, I think the playbook was made to actually play towards JJ McCarthy's strengths, which I think that's what it should have done early on in the first place. And we saw a much better version of JJ McCarthy later on in the season before the hairline fracture in the hand. And so what I'm trying to ask you, Greg, is mechanics wise. Now I know that he was working with John Beck a little bit too this offseason. Do his mechanics really need to change all that much, or was it, and let's focus on 25 first. Sorry, and 25. What was the issue? Possibly also having to focus so much on mechanics and doing something that you're not comfortable or used to doing, or was it the playbooks not set up for his strengths?
Yeah. When I started hearing about the mechanics, right, I was wondering okay, mechanics are all over. Are we talking about upper body mechanics? Are we talking about lower body mechanics? Because if you're talking about at the end of his throw where he swings his back leg around, okay, then yes, that fundamentally is not what you should finish with. You shouldn't swing your right leg around on your follow through. So when people were talking about mechanics, I always wondered, what specifically are you talking about? Are you talking about upper body mechanics? Or are you talking what are we talking about with mechanics?
I think some of it was the footwork, and like the leg flying was one of the big talkers. You know, how his right leg flies out, when he lets it go, that right leg is like flying around. I think that was one of the things that was a big talker. But sorry, keep going.
Yeah, so as a quarterback trainer, mechanics are always at the forefront, right? Bad mechanics equals inaccurate throw. It's going to lead to less power. So, of course, mechanics are at the forefront. And what unfortunately happens is you're expected to be a finished product by the time you get to the NFL when it comes to mechanics. There's a handful of guys that change their mechanics as they get into the league. Josh Allen is certainly one of them. He would have this very high over the top release point when he was at Wyoming, started working with Jordan Palmer, and now he's got almost like a 3/4 like sidearm slot like kind of throwing motion, right? So you could obviously change mechanics at any age, right? At any level. And so when people were talking about JG's mechanics, if they want to talk about that back leg swinging around and all that stuff, like I understand that. I would also say watch some other guys throw and see if you see that happen, because I'll bet you do from time to time. So not everybody is going to be completely in the ground, rotational force, connected to the turf, all the things that you preach when you're talking about mechanics. So yeah, I mean, part of me understands that that was the easy, low-hanging fruit thing that people like. As soon as one person starts going, "Oh, his back leg swings around," then all of a sudden everyone starts talking about it. So I understand that that's how this happens, but I don't think that that's the deep-rooted number one problem with this. I think it's playing more football, becoming a quarterback in the league, being in the offense and getting it's a handful of things that is going to help him. Mechanics are obviously critically important. John Beck is with 3D QB, which is probably the best mechanics training academy. That's Tom House's group. So, those guys are almost scientific, almost like medical when it comes to mechanics, like talking about specific parts of the body. So, it's good that JJ obviously is getting in front of like a group of guys that can probably dial down some things. But listen, at the end of the day, yeah, keep your back foot connected to the turf when you can. But that's not going to happen on every single throw. You're going to make some off-platform throws that are going to have you make some funky, footwork moves. And I mean, I go to Aaron Rodgers pretty easily. The guy throws off the ground sometimes, and no one's going, wow, he has both feet off the turf when he throws.
Right.
So, yes, mechanics are obviously extremely important. I think that we can always, whether it's JJ or anybody, improve mechanics, especially when you're a younger quarterback, like really kind of like figure that out. Um, at the end of the day, I think it's playing more football, right? It's
Okay.
playing more football, and just improving, you know? So I don't know. The mechanics thing, when I heard that, I was like, yeah, okay. Like, if you guys
It,
want to talk about his back foot,
yep.
is that making him throw interceptions? Is that
Yeah.
leading to poor play? I mean, yeah, of course it can, but like there's probably a number of things going on there. And let's not just focus on the fact that his back leg's swinging around as he throws.
Now, in the Washington Dallas, again, the playbook thing came into play to where we're simplifying some things. What did you see as far as the change? Because obviously things changed,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels like he was playing free in making a lot better decision making type instinct
Mm-hmm.
plays as far as and some of this, like you said, comes with just playing and
Yeah.
being in those situations where I'm sure he watched back the tape where we saw him where he was running too much, and
Mm-hmm.
people are saying, hey, he's taking off way too soon. So
Right.
then we went way too far to the other side to where he was hanging in the pocket. He was holding onto the ball too much, and he had open space. And then it seemed like when we got into like the Washington, the Dallas game, hey, JJ's figuring it out as far as when I need to hold on to the ball a little bit longer for my receiver to get open, or
Mm-hmm.
when hey, the defense is giving it to me, I'm going to use my God-given athletic talent and I'm going to go get the first down.
Yeah.
We saw that.
Yeah. I have always felt like he plays the best when he does play freer like that. When he
Yeah.
plays, I've watched him literally like run around an entire field back and forth, right, in high school. And, and obviously that's, not really the best thing to do. But when he's able to play in that kind of freer environment, I certainly feel like he's more comfortable. Now, here's the thing: you got to play in KOC's offense. You got to play,
Right.
you got to run his plays and you've got to go through your progressions the way he wants you to do it. So I think the best coaches always take the personnel that they have and the talent level that they have and the talent, like the skill set of the guys that are in the room. And then they also have to be, have their foundation and their beliefs and their core values. And you kind of blend them together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm a coach and I'm a diehard passing coach and I get a quarterback into my program and he can't pass, well, how am I going to have a passing offense with a quarterback that can't throw? So I would have to be more open-minded to be able to run the ball more.
Sure.
So, that's kind of where I'm going with this. I think a blend of, KOC's offense and the structure and all of the things that he's had so much success with, and then, a little bit of JJ and his ability to make plays and to play free and to do some things that are maybe outside of that framework. That's, I think, going to be where he's the most comfortable, and that's where I think he's going to be able to play with the most success.
Yeah, and with KOC, I think he kind of admitted at that point, like, hey, we need to change some things in order for JJ to feel more comfortable and have success. And I will give props to KOC for doing that during the season.
Hmm.
And we saw some of that success. We saw some positive development from JJ in those moments. And I think he has to do that this season, whether it's Kyler Murray or whether it's JJ McCarthy.
Right.
You may have your offense, but this isn't Kirk Cousins. Kyler
No.
Murray or JJ McCarthy are not Kirk Cousins.
No.
Kirk Cousins, yes, he probably is the ideal quarterback for a KOC offense.
Yeah.
He is um, dang near a robot out there.
Right.
As far as like what KOC wants to do, but Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy are more athletic type quarterbacks where
Right.
they can make plays with their legs, they can get outside, and I think they can do different things better.
Hmm.
There's things that like a quarterback like Kirk could do really good in the pocket, but there's things that Kirk was limited by as well too, and I think just the offense, you got to adapt a little bit to your quarterback's strengths. And I think he's going to have to do that, whether it's Kyler Murray or whether it's JJ McCarthy. He's
Right.
going to have to do that a little bit in order for them to have the most success in this offense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now,
They're both
I'm not
very dynamic players, right? Like
absolutely.
they make plays with their legs and they make plays with their arm. So I don't think there's, there's a difference between the two, but they have a similar playing style.
And I think as he gets better, JJ McCarthy is able to do that a little bit to where now it puts more stress on the defense as well too.
Hmm.
They're having to think about, hey, is he going to take it and run it?
Right.
So that is maybe taking an extra second or two off of maybe a linebacker that has to make a decision.
Yeah.
And maybe a guy gets open because, he's looking to cover the quarterback or not.
Right.
Now, we're going to get into this next topic as well too, but before I do that, I need to make sure that you guys are checking out, because I do write for Purple PTSD as well too. I want to give them a shout out. Make sure that you check it out, purpleptsd.com. We're always giving you Purple news daily. Go check it out, guys. purpleptsd.com. Great writers over there. As I was saying, I do have to make sure that I shout out one of our other sponsors as well too. That's back with me, that I've had a relationship in the past with. And Vikings Playbook is brought to you by our podcast sponsor. That's Badass Wood Art. Go to their website and use code PLAYBOOK to receive 10% off on any products on their website. That's pretty badass. So, Badass Wood Art back with us again, which means we're going to have our badass player of the game with us again for this 2026 season. So thank you to That's Badass Wood Art. All right, so for the next topic I want to cover with you is JJ's development. All right, so off season, working with John Beck, what type of mentality do you think JJ is going to come in with this offseason? And we're going to get into the quarterback competition piece of it too, but his offseason focus, we talked about mechanics type stuff. You already mentioned a little bit with John Beck, but what should be the key things that you think JJ needs to focus on to make sure that he's ready for this offseason to improve and take some of these steps that he needs to?
Yeah. I mean, staying healthy and taking care of your body, obviously. So, hopefully there's an injury-free season. That certainly would help. So I imagine that he's taking care of his body and getting in shape and doing all the things that you should be doing in the off season. He had a chance to go out in California and work with John, and he prepared him for his NFL draft. So he did his pro day and all those things. So he knows JJ as well as I do. So, I'm sure John has put together a script and a program for him to do some things in the off season and probably clean up some mechanics and things of that nature. So again, I think his key to the off season focus is coming in with just a clean slate and trying to, um, you know, maybe not start fresh, but just like, all right, I've had a season under my belt now, right? Had some
Mm-hmm.
big ups, some big downs, haven't played well, have played well. And like I said earlier, it's time to take those check marks in that negative column and start to move those over to the positive side, just to start to put together some successful days in practice. And I don't think when it comes to the playbook or preparation or any of that stuff, you're going to get a different guy. I mean, the guy is diabolical. I've never met somebody that's more focused and just intent with his preparation. He's got um, all of those attributes. So it's not like he wasn't prepared with the playbook or any of that stuff. So you're going to get the same guy you had last year. He obviously has a better idea, I think, of, what's happening on the field after playing some games. So yeah, it's a combination of things. And I think his ability to move past some of that negative stuff is really what's going to help him. Because you could walk into camp and feel like, man, there's a lot of people down on me. There's another guy in the room now that people are talking about being the starter. There's, negative stuff all over social media about me, right? Like you could like let some of that stuff get to you. And the beauty of him is he does not, he doesn't care. And I think for him, I just need to grind and focus and go take that job.
Yeah, social media can sometimes be an ugly place. It definitely can with some of the comments. There's good, there's bad, and some of the bad stuff out there. So me as a Vikings fan, um, what I will say is this is just my take, and everyone's gonna have a different opinion on it. But no matter who is wearing purple, and if they're leading this team, I'm gonna root for them. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to root for him to succeed, whether that's Kyler Murray, whether that's Carson Wentz or JJ McCarthy. I'm going to root
Right.
for that quarterback to do well. I'm going to root for every player to do well on
Mm-hmm.
this team because I want to see my team win. And I
Right.
think, and whether you think he's the guy or not, if he's throwing the football, I hope that you're rooting for him as a Vikings fan. Now,
Yeah.
whether or not you think he's the guy, that's a different question. Now, we do have some of those followers, and we have some questions and stuff on here. But what would you say to, so we have some followers, we have some supporters in here of JJ McCarthy. We have some that, think, hey, Kyler's the guy to go with. But
Mm-hmm.
somebody who says that, maybe he's just not the guy. And, John Jingles, I see some of your comments and stuff on here too, that, you think that we should move on to somebody else. But Greg, what would you say to somebody that doesn't think that JJ's the guy?
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, you can feel that way, right? Like, um, and I understand. I've learned over the last 2 years how passionate Viking fans are, and I can truly appreciate that.
Hmm.
And so you want to win, and your
Right.
patience level is very low. You've had success, you've almost been there, and then you haven't. And so if you've moved past JJ, I think, that's okay. And you can do that, and that's fine. I would like people who do feel that way, if he comes out on the field, to still be supportive of the guy, right? If he walks out on the
Absolutely.
field and people are raining down booze on him, it's like, come on, man. Like and I,
He's a 22-year-old kid that's
yeah, and I
that's
get it, but
that's
he's
going to
also
get better.
right. He's a pro and he's expected to do his job and he's
Right.
expected to have success. He's making a lot of money, so he better do well. And, there's no room for failure and all of that stuff. Well, that's just not the reality. You've got a lot of the most successful quarterbacks that are playing now, or even, the Peyton Mannings and guys didn't come out and just blow it up right away. They had some growing pains to get through. So if you've moved on from JJ, that's totally fair. I get it. Like what you saw last year, you might think that he's just not the guy. I think he's going to prove people wrong because I've watched him do that for a lot of years. I've watched him, just not really worry about anything else but his preparation and what he needs to do. And because I know him a little bit, I feel like um, that he's just not going to let people down who are rooting for him. So the people that are cheering for him, keep cheering. The people who are moving past him and feel like Kyler's the guy or maybe somebody else is, that's totally fair. I understand both sides.
Yeah, I think winning cures a lot of things, especially in a fan base. Whether it's Kyler, whether it's JJ, or someone else. If a guy's
Hmm.
winning, that cures a lot of ails as far as the naysayers and stuff out there. I would love to see the kid perform, prove people wrong on the field. Uh, I would love to see that happen,
Yeah.
and I hope it does. I also hope that Kyler does well.
Yeah.
Again, I want to see whoever is leading this team be successful in this offense, and because we all want to see a championship at some point,
Right.
and we can't do that. And we don't make it easier on whether it's Kyler or whether it's JJ. So if you're a team JJ guy, don't be down on Kyler if he ends up starting either.
Yeah.
It makes it even harder. Oh, and again, you can say that like you said, that it doesn't bother JJ, but it certainly doesn't hurt having a fan base that's more supportive to whoever's taking the snaps
Right.
from center.
Yeah.
That hey, the fan base is behind you, and obviously we want to see wins and all that good stuff too. But yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Now for this next piece, I do have a video. Sam Darnold was talking a little bit and actually giving some props to JJ, and then I also have Tom Pelissero that was talking a little bit before we get into the actual quarterback competition piece of it. But here's a quick 2 videos just to show you first before I get your reaction.
I totally understand the move to go with the younger quarterback on a rookie deal, and signing these veteran players that you can maybe pay a little bit more while he's on his rookie deal, especially if you believe in him.
The business side of
it. Yeah, the business side of it, I totally understand. And like, I think JJ's a good player. I think he's going to be a really good player in this league. I truly believe that. And, you know, for them to see that and be like, all right, we're going to, you know, Sam, that was a great year, but like the business part of it was like, okay, like, you know, I totally understand.
That's the hardest part of this whole thing is
it really is. And it's kind of going back to your story too, with like the whole Saints thing. I'm sure they could have probably figured out a way to keep you, but I mean, you probably found it in your heart of hearts to maybe like understand that part of it.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Minnesota, Garofalo said he believes it's Kyler. It's not close. That's clearly where he's going. Kyler's walking in there believing he's going to be the quarterback. He could have picked any place of the open jobs.
Right.
In another scenario, could he have gone to, for instance, Atlanta? Could he have gone to the Jets? He wants to go to Minnesota because Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach. Mm-hmm. He wants a shot in that system. He's only 28 years old.
Right.
Money was no object because the Cardinals still owe him like $36 million this year, minus the minimum salary that's being offset from Minnesota, and they gave him a no-tag clause. So Kyler Murray controls his future in 2027. But job one is he's got to come out and compete and win that job over J.J. McCarthy. Contrary to popular opinion and all the memes, J.J. McCarthy's career to this point has not been an abject, unqualified failure. He's not stayed healthy enough. He's not been available enough. He's not been consistent enough. But you can't go back and watch him play in Detroit last year after a 6-week layoff because of a high ankle sprain. Watch him play against the Lions and go, this guy can't play in the NFL. He was good that day. He did not have to throw the ball a ton. I think he was under 200 yards passing. I mean, I was at that game. I've done this long enough. I can tell when a guy's able to play on time, when he's able to be accurate, when he's able to produce in the red zone. J.J. McCarthy did those things that day. You watch him play some of the games down the stretch, even though he's dealing with a hand that was messed up. He had the baby early on in the season. There's so much going on in his life and with his body through the course of the season that it's hard to get a read. And that's not to say JJ's, you know, he's a success and you got to give him the job. No, it's to say there's enough there and he's young enough that they're not just going to punt on him. If this were just, it's Kyler's job and JJ's competing with Carson Wentz to be the 2, you would have traded JJ. You would have gotten whatever you could get for him already, because the longer you wait to trade a guy like JJ McCarthy, the less his value is. Other teams trade for untapped potential and traits. You trade something of value because your grade you had on J.J. McCarthy coming out in 2024, and listen, it was not consistent. There were some people who had him a lot lower, 6th or 7th QB. There were people who had him as the 2nd or 3rd QB in that draft. He ends up being the 5th one off the board after Caleb and Jaden, Drake May, and Penix. But the longer he's in the league and the more you don't see what you thought he could be, the harder it is to justify trading something of value for the guy, not to mention the fact that you're further into his contract and now that value on a rookie contract isn't there. So I fully anticipate they're going to give J.J. McCarthy the opportunity here to come in and compete with Kyler. If you're Kevin O'Connell, every quarterback wants to come to Minnesota. If Geno Smith could have had the option to come to Minnesota, I believe he would have been in Minnesota. If Tua had the option, which was probably never an option, in part because Brian Flores is the defensive coordinator in Minnesota, that was probably not going to be a fit back in the same building together. He probably would have chosen to go to Minnesota. He ends up in the 2nd best spot in Atlanta. But the point is, Kevin O'Connell has quarterbacks actively wanting to come and play for him because he had Kirk Cousins playing at the best level of his life until Kirk tears his Achilles early in the 2023 season. He had Sam Darnold playing the best football of his life. Daniel Jones never saw the field in Minnesota, but he got a crash course in that offense for a month and went, and until he got hurt last year, was probably playing the best football of his career in Indy. And I'm not giving Kevin O'Connell full credit for that. Shane Steichen obviously works with him as well, and Jim Bob Cooter and those guys. But that time with Kevin O'Connell, it's just proof that when players come available, they want to come. Kevin O'Connell's got a runway here. whatever it is, next 2-3 years. They still haven't hired a GM. That's going to come. But he's got time here to find who the quarterback is going to be. You now in that room have 3 guys who are top 10 picks, Kyler, JJ, and Carson Wentz, who's later on in his career. And 2 out of 4 seasons in Minnesota, O'Connell has needed that many quarterbacks because everybody's gotten hurt.
Yeah.
So I anticipate it's going to be a fair competition going in. I don't know, and I said this on the show last week, I don't know how friendly the room's going to be with Kyler and JJ because they both intend to go and win that job. But why would you not? JJ still has fans. Like, he was really well-liked. He still is well-liked in the locker room. Just hasn't been consistent enough.
All right, Greg. So we see that, and Tom Pelissero is really plugged into the Minnesota Vikings. You know, he has said from the beginning pretty much that this isn't just, you know, a facade. This is an actual, like, Kevin O'Connell is trying to make this an open quarterback competition. And I think that's the best thing for both of these guys.
Okay.
Kyler Murray is coming in here to try to prove that, you know, he can still be a starting NFL quarterback. You know, yes, he's coming in on a league minimum deal. We're not paying him the 36, you know, plus $1 million. You know, the Cardinals are stuck with that. But the Vikings are giving an opportunity for him to come in here and possibly win the job. Yes, is he the favorite to win the job? Yeah, he is. But this open quarterback competition, I think, is the best thing, not only for Kyler Murray, but also for JJ McCarthy, because I think this is going to bring out the best of both of them, competition wise, whether that be you know, just like Tom said, I don't know what kind of, you know, how much friendliness there's going to be in the room because everyone wants to be the guy. Everyone wants to win that job. But overall, with this quarterback competition, Kyler versus McCarthy in an open competition, I expect both of these guys to bring their best every day in training camp because they're trying to win the job. What are your thoughts on the competition?
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And I love both of those videos of Sam Darnold and Tom Pelissero. So I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think one, it's a great opportunity for 2 guys that need to prove something to get out and compete for a job. Because let's be honest, Kyler's on a 1-year deal. So if he plays well in Minnesota, he's either going to get re-signed by the Vikings and get a big contract, or he's going to go somewhere else and get a big contract. JJ's at the end of his rookie contract, so he obviously wants to play well to get his next contract. So, you know, there's 2 guys that are going for a position to further their NFL careers. And then on top of that, I mean, of course, as NFL quarterbacks and competitors, you want to win the job. You don't, even if you're Carson Wentz, I don't think you go into training camp not trying to win the job. I mean, Carson Wentz very likely won't win it, but I don't think there's a guy that would walk in there and be like, I'm not here just to be the backup. So I agree. I think one of the things that maybe was, you know, missing last year in training camp was a veteran that could have pushed JJ to, you know, and teach him some things, right? Like,
right.
I mean, look at guys that sat and had an opportunity to, like, learn behind a veteran, even if it's in training camp.
Carson came in really late, you know, so he wasn't there through training camp.
No.
He came in 3 weeks before the season.
Right. Yeah, that's, you know, that wasn't going to be something that is really going to resonate with JJ for like a mentorship or any of that kind of stuff. So, you know, Kyler's been around the league a while, so I can guarantee you that JJ will be, you know, watching his practice habits and the things that he's doing and maybe taking some pieces from that while he's competing for the job with him. So, yeah, I love both those videos. I think they're spot on, and I agree with you guys. It's a good thing for the Vikings, and they're going to get a good quarterback. Somebody's going to come out of that competition playing well. I can't imagine they won't. They're going to push each other, and you're surrounded with talent. It's not like that's a bad team. Like
it's not.
You got
as long as we're healthy,
man.
Right? You know, we weren't healthy last year. We didn't have Justin Jefferson for most of training camp healthy.
Yeah,
so there's
100%.
chemistry issues there. There's chemistry issues with And we saw, the issues with the offensive line that we had. And if we're healthy, yeah, on paper, this is still we added Juwan Jennings. This is a really good offense
It's
on
a good
paper.
team. There's no
On
doubt.
defense, this could potentially still be a top 10 defense as well too. Yes, we lost some players. We brought in some rookies, and there's some questions there with Caleb Banks' health. But we have pieces to be competitive. The biggest question, as Justin Jefferson has said on TV as well too, in different interviews, the biggest question is can they get the quarterback play?
Right.
He's alluded to that. Is
Mhm.
that quarterback play going to be there? And, I think he is also wanting to see JJ succeed, but he's wanting to see, these two guys go at it. Let the best man win
Right.
to start the season. And let's see where it goes, whether it be, Kyler or JJ that ends up coming out of that. Now, if Kyler ends up starting the year, I still don't think that that's the end for JJ McCarthy. Like Tom Pelissero said, the Vikings could have traded or tried to trade
Right.
JJ McCarthy. Now, he could have, the more that he stays with the Vikings and the longer that he's playing out this rookie contract, the less value he has in the trade.
Mm-hmm.
That we're not seeing him on the field.
Right.
But there's no guarantee. We don't know how Kyler Murray is going to play. We don't
Right.
know if he's going to be able to stay healthy. There still is a very real chance, and I do believe we still see JJ McCarthy play this season, even if Kyler starts the season.
Yeah.
And that could be whether we're winning by a lot or he gets nicked up on some plays and McCarthy has to come in relief.
Yeah.
Kyler's had troubles finishing a season too. We actually have 3 quarterbacks that have had
Yeah.
issues staying healthy.
Yep.
But with this, we don't know if Kyler balls out and does well. We don't know if the Vikings are going to resign. We don't know if he's going to want to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
All those questions we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And McCarthy this season, no matter what, he's going to get better.
Yeah.
So we have that in our back pocket as far as McCarthy being able to either play this season or possibly being able to be, our starter next year or somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think he still has, again, 10 games, like we've talked about, beating that to death. He still has a future that it has not been written whether or not he's able to be a starting quarterback for an NFL team.
Right. Yeah,
So-
I would agree with that. There needs to be an opportunity for him to really truly show whether that's true or false, and I don't think that's happened yet.
Yeah, Kyler Murray has he's got some doubters out there as well too, where he's coming in here with a fire just like JJ McCarthy is, as
Mhm.
far as trying to win this job and prove people wrong. And I think that's a great thing for both of these guys to get an opportunity to really do that, whether it be in training camp. And I applaud KOC. I applaud Justin Jefferson for not taking a side in either of this, and really just the team supporting both of these guys and seeing who's going to win the job.
Mhm.
Who's going to go out there and win it. Now,
Yeah.
when we take a look at these guys and regular season stats, obviously Kyler Murray has more games in his pocket. He's got the experience coming into this. Carson Wentz is there too. I don't think Carson has really been included in that. Hey, these 3 guys are going to win the starting job. But I think it's really Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy as far as winning the starting job that the Vikings are looking at. But when we take a look at completion percentage, Kyler has shown that he can be a Pro Bowl. He can be a good quarterback in completion percentage, and we can see that he's able to throw touchdowns. We've also seen that he's had issues protecting the ball. You look at the fumbles.
Mhm.
Yes, he can run with the ball, but protecting the ball, whether that be, it's only a 2-to-1 ratio in passing TDs and interceptions. That's a question. Can he secure the ball enough?
Mhm.
Kyler will drive defenses crazy with his athleticism, but he can sometimes drive fans crazy with, hey, he's playing awesome one minute and then he's driving you crazy because you're making a crazy turnover.
Right.
JJ McCarthy, obviously, and I think if we had JJ on too, he would say and be fair himself that, hey, I need to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he is going to try to really do what it takes, and he's doing that this offseason to come in healthier and to be able to prove that, hey, I got what it takes.
Right.
So I'm hoping to see that from both of these guys going forward here in 26, and we'll see what happens in 26. That's going to give us a better, clearer picture of who's going to be the guy and the franchise quarterback going forward for this team.
Yep.
Greg, so last question I really have for you, and the last topic, is what are your expectations that you think that you would want to see, and what you think we're going to see out of JJ McCarthy going into 2026?
Yeah, I think the expectations are, to come in and just be a little bit more of a seasoned veteran. He's not that long in the league, but it's just kind of step up. There's a level of patience that's probably running out. So the expectations are for him to come in and play well. I certainly expect him to do that. I know him well enough to know that he's not going to come in there and just not do what he needs to do. I think health is such a big part of that equation. I just really do. And if he's healthy, I think you're going to get the best version of him. So he's a very dialed in, focused, determined, strong-willed. There's so many attributes to all of that stuff. The physical talents are there. I mean, that's why you drafted him, 10th overall. So it's not like he's lacking arm strength or any of that stuff. So decision making and staying within the offense and going through progressions and playing in Kevin's playbook and all of those things. So the expectation for me is for him, with a season under his belt, as up and down as it was, as good as it was, as bad as it was, is for him to come in and, I just don't doubt that he's not going to do well. And I just feel like he's going to hopefully change the mindset of some of the people who have written him off. And I think the people that are sticking with him are going to be like, hey, I kind of told you so. Like, you just had to give this guy a little bit of time. And so I expect him, whoever wins the job, here's the thing. Kyler Murray's a very good quarterback. So my expectations are not that JJ is going to come in and win the job and take it over and all of that stuff. I think he's going to do all of the things that he needs to do that. Kyler Murray might come in and absolutely light it up beyond what anybody expected, and all of a sudden you gotta play the guy,
Right.
So JJ is one of those guys that has always said, I can't control other people and I can only control what I can control, that kind of thing. So he's going to do all the things that he knows he can control, that he can do, and the outcome is, it's kind of already written. So I don't know, and I mean, that's some higher power stuff, but that's that's where I'm going with that.
And you really spoke to it. I really hope that's what we see from JJ is whether this season turns out to where Kyler starts the season and JJ has to be a backup this year. I really hope that we see, and I think that we will. We'll still see that fire in JJ supporting his team, supporting Kyler, and when it's his opportunity to play, he's going to be ready.
Right.
And that's what I hope that we see from JJ McCarthy this year. So whether he's starting or he's in that role where he's in the quarterback room and he's ready. He's being ready. He's making sure when it's his opportunity to play, whether it's this year, next year, or somewhere else, that JJ's ready when he gets that opportunity to go out and show people that, hey, I can do this. I can be the guy. And I'd love to see that for him. For Kyler Murray, I'd love to see him come out and resurrect his career as well too.
Yeah, you want them both
I'd love
to do
see
well.
him to do great. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He grew up as a Vikings fan too, and it's cool. Same thing with Carson Wentz. Getting to play for the team that you grew up rooting for, I think that's really cool too. So that entire quarterback room, I hope that they come together, they gel, and they push each other. Push each other to their limits to be better. That helps this team improve and be better as well too.
I agree.
Now, I got to ask this. So, does your son already have offers somewhere?
Yeah, his first offer was actually Michigan.
Okay.
And that was going into 7th grade.
Wow.
And then last summer going into 8th grade, he got Purdue. And then last Thursday, he threw for University of Connecticut, and they offered him after the throwing session. So he's got
Wow.
a few offers. He's very excited to walk into high school this year as a freshman.
Freshman. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to a very good school here in the Chicagoland area. Brother Rice won the state championship last year. Their quarterback graduated, so there's an opportunity for him to come in and compete for the job. They also have a kid who's going to be a senior who's very good. So kind of like your room, they got 2 guys. They're going to push each other in practice. And I think it's going to make both of them better. One of them's obviously going to win the job, and whoever's not playing is going to be ready to go if he gets the opportunity. So, yeah, it's been pretty neat. So I appreciate you asking me about him.
Yeah, I was really surprised and impressed when I was going through videos. I was like Sam Holcomb, and I started looking some more. I was like, he's got an arm on him, and just, he's going to be class of 2030. And I was just like, wow, this kid's going to be a freshman this year. And he already has that kind of arm on him. That's pretty impressive stuff. And I'm excited, not just for Sam, but for you as a father watching your son go out and, perform like that and having that kind of hype. I mean, that's got to be exciting for you as a dad. And then being able to kind of support him, help train him every step of the way. I think that's those are awesome memories being made. And yeah, I'm happy for you, Greg. That's awesome.
Yeah, he got when he got the Michigan offer, he sent JJ a text as we were driving back. We were at the Michigan prospect camp.
Sure.
In June, and he got the offer, and he sent JJ a text and let him know. And he sent him a text back, and it was like, "Hey, buddy, I couldn't be more prouder of you. Great job, but I want you to know that the work's not done. This is just the beginning. Like, like." It was very very JJ. Like, congratulations, but like the job's not done. Keep going, whatever. And I screenshot it because it was very. It was just an incredibly mature and leader, like just. And I was like, I wasn't surprised that was the response he got. So again, just, another kind of JJ story where he just shows his high character and all the things that makes him who he is.
That's very awesome.
Yeah.
So Greg, we're close to wrapping it up here. One of the things that we've been doing is actually a card break.
Okay.
So this is kind of cool. Those of you in the chat that have done this before, we've had a winner the last 2 weeks. Go ahead and throw your NFL team and your college team. If it's already been picked, you got to pick somebody else. So if it's that team that you pick, NFL or college, that comes out of here, I'm going to send you this card. This is a 1-of-1 Leaf Eclectic medal that's coming out of here. So go ahead. Kinetic already has Wolverines. He's got his Wolverines and Vikings right already off the bat. We've had a winner last week. It was TJ PDX. And then before that, we had Skull Mafia that won. So I'm going to go ahead and do this rip. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to go ahead and get that in there. As far as your teams, go ahead and throw them in chat. And Greg, if you want to play along, you can also pick an NFL team and a college team if you would like. Okay. And Notre Dame and Chargers for Norse. But Greg, I'm going to give you another shout out. If you guys are in the chat and you haven't already added them, again, I need to remove that. There we go. Greg Holcomb, if you're not already following him on X, make sure that you do that. QB Coach HOLC on X, and then Next Level QBA on X. And if you got a kid that's looking to play quarterback and wants some additional training, go check out the camps, go check out the website at nextlevelqbs.com. See how you can get involved with Greg and his team to get some additional training. And maybe you're as lucky as Greg and you're seeing your son get some offers from some really big schools after some of this additional training as well, too. Bob Swede, I see you with Gophers and Vikings. Gotcha. Anyone else, go ahead and get those in the chat. And then I also want to make sure that I give a shout out. Again, go check out fantasy football, fantasy15football.com. Please go ahead and do that as well, too. We're getting close to the fantasy football season. And again, if you're not already subscribed and you want to win that Jordan Addison jersey, make sure that you go to Vikes Playbook. Go ahead and subscribe. Once we get to 250, I'm giving away that Jordan Addison jersey. I have different giveaways, helmets, jerseys all season long, card giveaways that I'm doing. But you can't win if you're not subscribed and you're not following Vikes Playbook. So make sure that you do that. All right. I see a few of you guys that are on there. Greg, if you want to, go ahead and pick an NFL team and a college team.
Well, I'm on a Vikings podcast. I got to go Vikings, and then I'm going to go.
We got Vikings picked already, so you got to pick somebody else.
I'll go Niners.
Same with you, Bob.
Niners.
Okay, Niners are off the board. You want a college team at all?
Oregon.
All right, that's a good one. Actually, we've had an Oregon picked. Bob, I need you to pick a different NFL team quick. Oh, Kinetic's going to let you have the Vikings. He says he'll take the Ravens this time. All right, Kinetic's trying to switch it up. All right, here we go. Live poll real quick. Here we go. This is a coach. I'm going to rip one more. This is Steve Spurrier. So I'm going to rip one more here. I'm going to rip one more. We can't do it with the coach. We got to go with another one. All right. I want you guys to have a player. All right, here we go. We don't have a winner this time. It's Talon Taylor.
Oh, wow.
So Talon Taylor on the 101.
He's from our area. How funny
is?
Yes, he's from Geneva, Illinois.
Well, that's very cool. Talon Taylor is the card pulled. I don't have a winner this time. I tried to pull two for you guys this time. We break our 2-win streak. But still, keep following along for every podcast. We'll do card breaks. Skull Mafia and TJPDX are getting their cards in the mail, and you can win as well. Again, Greg, thank you so much for joining the show. Definitely appreciate it. And we love bringing on new guests, especially like yourself, that can give us not only your expertise and your insight, especially to being able to work with JJ McCarthy and working with quarterbacks, and then also seeing who you're working with. I'll have to start paying attention to Michigan State here, and then also seeing what happens with Sam, and seeing where he goes. That's really exciting. That's going to be exciting for me to watch, and maybe some others that start following you as well on social media and seeing what happens with Sam Holcomb. But yeah, absolutely. Kinetic, great. Kinetic saying great guest. Absolutely. Couldn't have a better guest on here to talk about JJ McCarthy than someone that, basically has known him since 7th grade and, feels like he's part of the family to you, Greg. So that's, again, thanks to you. I appreciate you for coming on and spending your time with us and our followers. Greg, any last words that you have?
I just really appreciate it. I know how passionate the Viking fan base is. It's different. It really is. I grew up in Wisconsin, so I understand how passionate Packer fans are.
Sure.
I'm not one of them, so don't tear me apart. But yeah, I've developed a very big appreciation for how passionate Viking fans are, and so it's a pleasure to come on. I really appreciate it. It's always good to talk to good people, talking about a kid that obviously means a lot to me still after all of these years. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. And Greg, if you can also tell, I had a request for where they can get the Next Level hat that you're wearing.
Oh, I don't sell them on my website, but I need to. So, yeah, if somebody wants to reach out to me on social media, I will get one in your hands.
Okay, there you go. I know Norse was asking. I think Norse was the one that was asking about the hat, and yeah, thank you so much, Greg. If you're able to stick around after we end the show, just real quick, just for a minute or two, I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone else online. This isn't possible without your guys' support and you guys following us. As always, this has been Vikings Playbook. Your Sunday starts here. This is Steve Hoikkala and my guest, Greg Holcomb. Coach Greg Holcomb from Next Level Athletics. Until next time, guys, Skol Vikings, and we'll see you. Have a great weekend, guys.